Our next session is on breaking the e-commerce flywheel, hosted by retail expert Chris Walton of Omni Talk, where you'll learn how you can ignite revenue growth with retail media and marketplaces. So without further ado, please join me in welcoming to the stage Chris Walton of Omni Talk, Adam Bohbot, co-founder of Luisa, Tseytlin, executive director at Schein, and Janos, VP of Marketplace at Macy's. Welcome.
All right, it's good to see everybody. I'm Chris Walton. I'm one of the co-founders of Omni Talk, and they asked me before we get started to interview these three gentlemen here. They asked me to share a personal anecdote about how I think about the flywheel. And for background on me, before I started Omni Talk about 8 years ago, where we cover the future of retail on a regular basis, I was previously in retail for 20 years, and most recently was an executive at Target. And at Target, one of my jobs was as the head of home furnishings for Target.com. And I remember, Josh and I were talking about this, Josh and I used to work together. I can remember many, many difficult conversations internally with the head of merchandising at the time around why was my assortment getting so large on Target.com. And I remember this one conversation vividly where I said, well, because every time you run an ad, I can scale that ad across a wider range of an assortment and therefore generate more money for Target. Took a little while for them to get an understanding of what that actually meant. But then, as I was talking with Alex Hassi from Mirakl on my podcast, like late last year, he said something to me that I'll never forget because he said, you know, there's that same relationship with retail media. That 1 + 1 = 3 relationship with retail media also exists. So you can scale your advertising, you know, just generally with your assortment, but then you bring retail media in the fold, the more items you have online via a marketplace or just in your assortment in general, the more opportunity you have to gain retail media dollars as well. So that's the flywheel effect that we're going to talk about today. And so to get us started, I'm going to have each of the gentlemen to my left introduce themselves. Adam, do you want to go first?
Sure, thank you. Thank you so much for the invitation. My name is Adam. I'm the founder of Luisa. We're a jewelry D2C, so born online, focusing on high-quality pieces, sustainable practices, and affordable prices. And we've been with Mirakl since 2023, launching first with Macy's.
Nice. Josh?
Hi, everyone. Josh Janos. I'm the VP of Marketplace for Macy's. We launched about 3 years ago, and it's been a fun and wild journey ever since.
Hi, everyone. My name is Tseytlin. I'm the Executive Director of Marketplace at Schein. I imagine that most of you have not heard of Schein. It is a company that actually was started as a single location pharmacy in 1932 and has now scaled globally to over 30 countries, 25,000 employees, wow, and serving dental and medical professionals, essentially making healthcare happen. And we sell everything from exam gloves all the way to AI tech for things like x-rays and other really impressive technology.
And my wife's a dentist, John, so she's very appreciative of the effort that you make every day.
That's great.
All right, well, let's get started. So, Josh, you know, Macy's, you know, for lack of a better way to put it, you guys are one of the pioneers of marketplaces within the U.S. You've been live for quite some time, like you just said. Remind us, like, why did Macy's launch a marketplace to begin with? And, you know, what's the impact been since you launched?
I feel like to tie into the dinosaur analogy, I feel like our story is a tale as old as time at this point. Okay. And I might sound like a broken record to some of the great leaders that have been up here, but really the reason for launching a marketplace was to provide more choice to our customers. And so we really do that through 3 different ways. One, expanding into the categories that we're known for. I believe someone talked about that before. Like, your customers are coming to you for a reason. But even though that we have very large established brands and a very large business, there's always opportunities to introduce new brands, new aesthetics, new styles, new price points, even in those categories that you're known for. The second reason is to launch new and adjacent categories that are very close to your business, that your customers would be surprised, delighted, and excited that you now have. So consumer electronics is one of those for us. We have immense amount of data that our customers were searching video game consoles, headphones, everything on Macy's, and we weren't serving those needs. And so, for example, just a couple weeks ago, along with the rest of the market, we launched the new Nintendo Switch 2 platform and saw some huge success, which is something that we wouldn't have even thought about doing a couple years ago. And then the third reason was really to optimize our channel delivery. So between owned and dropship and marketplace, really get those products to the customers in the most effective way. So we've moved brands from dropship to marketplace to improve profitability. We've had brands asked to move to marketplace because of the increased control over pricing and their brand presence. But we've also tested new brands through marketplace as a quick way to get them up, test customer demand, and have brought some of those brands now into our stores. So it's a really good cross-functional and cross-channel sort of experience. And in terms of how it's going, like we launched in 2022 from nothing to where we're at today. And as was thrown on the screen up there before, even in this challenging sales environment, we saw 40% year-over-year growth in Q1, which I'm incredibly proud about.
Wow.
We're also using it in new ways. That we talked about tariffs up here before, and so our executives are looking towards marketplace as a way to diversify inventory streams with the unknowns of tariffs that we're facing.
Yeah, that's a whole nother aspect of the flywheel too, from the inventory optimization standpoint. All right, Jan, so you came from Amazon, right? If I'm not mistaken.
That's right.
Yeah, so tell the audience a little bit, I'm curious too, like, how did that shape your experience and what you've built at Henry Schein?
Yeah, so I happen to have some experience at Amazon and Google, and making this transition to working in a 90-year-old distribution company, I think was an interesting step. But healthcare is obviously evolving. It's a massive opportunity, and to be on, let's say, ground zero for building something like Marketplace was something special. I know you've built it from the ground up in your past life, and so making that transition into healthcare was something that I was really excited about. And so a lot's been written about the Amazon style, how they launch, how they scale. And one of those things that stuck with me is the working backwards. If anyone's either read any of the material, I had the kind of honor privilege to be part of that process, learn about it, and sit in a lot of these meetings. And it starts with a lot of the things we've heard on the stage in the earlier session, which is, what does the customer want? This isn't about building a marketplace. This is about serving the customer need and working backwards from what is the customer's experience, what are they looking for, and we serve dentists and physicians around the world. What are the kinds of things that they're going to need in their practice? And so that process applied in an old company still works, and being able to kind of make it mine and tweak it has been great.
Very rewarding. It feels very Amazonian in a lot of ways, actually, as you describe that.
Yes, yeah, and I, last year I talked about writing documents and kind of getting those ideas out. It's a lot of selling in to the organization, and in ways that Amazon has also done well, which is you write your ideas down, you're able to disseminate that information across the business. I'm 2 years, almost 3 years into that journey, and I'm still selling every day. What is Marketplace? It means different things to different people around the company, to different leaders. A CFO is going to take a very different position than a CEO is. Same with operations and 1P. They're all trying to figure this out, but it's an effective way to kind of bring people along.
Right. Adam, so I got the chance to see you speak with Adrian at NRF last year, and first of all, congratulations on all the growth you guys have seen too. Can you share a little more about what you and Adrian talked about on stage, and then also, where has your growth been coming from?
Yeah, sure. So we come from a very different background from a brand like Cotopaxi. Our vision was D2C first, and to be transparent, I never envisioned going elsewhere at first. But in 2022, 2023, there were a lot of D2C fightings. We were spending tens of millions of dollars on Meta and Google, and so that's the moment where we decided to launch on marketplaces. In 18 months, it grew from a 6-digit channel to a 7-digit channel to 8-digit channels, and really kudos to my team, Alex and Melanie, that are here, because they really they did the bulk of it. And the growth was really insane. Not only did we get a lot of new customers that were originally from those marketplaces, but that turned into a lift in D2C sales, our own retail stores with people coming and saying, oh, I bought the first time on Macy's, on Bloomingdale's, on Nordstrom, and then I come in store and I discover the brand experience. It was also a lot of good way to diversify our marketing and tell our story to customers that were not necessarily spending so much time on Facebook, Meta, Instagram, TikTok, and so retail media is now a double-digit share of our marketing budget. And so we really embraced it the full way, and that's where most of the growth came from, yeah.
Yeah, that's the DTC origin is really interesting to me too. So you weren't thinking about this initially, you were thinking about going direct. How does the traditional wholesale model work with you guys too? Do you think about that, or do you go more the marketplace route because of how successful it's been?
Well, it's a very interesting question. We went marketplaces first. We were not doing any wholesale, but we had so much success with some of the marketplaces that we started to develop like strategic relationship. And so one of the first one was actually Nordstrom, where we had massive success with them last year on marketplaces. They took us in 25 stores in Q1, and we're going to be in 90 stores by end of the year.
Got it. So it kind of fueled the further expansion of the business model too by doing marketplaces.
Absolutely.
All right. Josh, so back to you. What's going on with retail media at Macy's? Like, how are you guys thinking about that in terms of the flywheel conversation?
So our retail media network is lovingly called Macy's Media Network.
Oh,
so
nice, creative.
Throw the acronyms of MMN over the next couple of minutes. We all speak corporate, so that's what I mean there. From a macro level, MMN is flourishing. So we did $40 million in revenue in Q1, which was up 8% year over year, both from new advertisers and then increased spend per advertiser. Okay. So really it continues to be a growth engine for Macy's. How I think about it is a growth engine for our sellers. Many of the sellers that are joining Macy's are trying to compete with long-established brands, as I'm sure Adam, you've experienced. And so after nailing the basics, so I always tell people, like, don't jump into some of these big programs until your content, your attribution, like everything about your products is looking fantastic. But then we work on a multifaceted growth strategy with our sellers, which includes Macy's Media Network. Most of our sellers will start with sponsored product ads, which will help them get product visibility within search results and navigation. Great way to kind of boost that visibility and conversion from the get-go. And then once what we see is our more advanced sellers getting into on-site display ads and videos, which moves from product visibility to brand awareness and visibility. You can tell a much more holistic brand story that will get the customers who see that exploring more of your products. We've also just launched a really great self-service tool that helps you launch social media campaigns. So now we can target Macy's customers on platforms like Facebook and Instagram and TikTok as a way to get additional visibility, not just on Macys.com, but in all those social networks that our customers are shopping for. And that self-service tool also has a lot of reporting and visibility for that closed loop data analysis. So a lot going on from both the basics up to the more advanced areas. And to give Mirakl a little bit of a plug, I'm really excited about their recent announcement of their partnership with Criteo. So Criteo is a long-standing partner of Macy's, and at some point soon, marketplace sellers will be able to place ads right in the Mirakl platform and have that flow into Criteo and onto Macys.com. So a closed loop environment to manage not only your retail business with us, but your sponsored product ads. So very excited about the performance that we've had, the visibility that we've been able to get sellers, and the continued development of the tools and resources that we're providing for our sellers.
Got it. Yeah, I mean, it sounds like very, very germane to the flywheel discussion that we're having and the success that you've seen. So because you said it, I'm curious, and because you're an operator, I think it's a unique position to share your experience with the audience here. You mentioned the basic building blocks. Can you go into that a little bit more? Like, can you explain what you think those are in more detail?
Yeah, a lot of the basic building blocks is kind of what we've seen from the technology solutions that Mirakl has been providing, but your product data and your content is absolutely necessary to make sure that you nail that first. You want to make sure that, you know, those descriptions, those images, and then, you know, everyone doesn't think about the attribution or the metadata behind the scenes, but those are all things that are powering, you know, whether it's the new AI tools or some of the old search engine stuff that we have. You really want to make sure that when a customer gets to your your page, you nail that. We also talk about competitive pricing. I don't know how many of you shop online, which is I'm sure everyone, but you probably have multiple browser windows open and are looking at all the different retailers and places that you could get these products. And so making sure that your prices are competitive across all of your channels. And then working into things that are more retailer specific. Macy's is a very big gifting destination, and also known for some of our key promotional periods as well. So making sure that you're opting into things like our gift guides or some of those friends and family and VIP promotions. Those are the things that are going to really start to get you visibility that then prepares for when we launch into the Macy's Media Network conversations of really amplifying that visibility on a platform.
Yeah, and I saw you shaking your head up and down vociferously, quietly but vociferously. Would you agree with what he said? Would you add anything?
100%. So Macy's is obviously further along in that journey than Henry Schein is, and there's I've been on the opposite side as a prospect at one point, learning about marketplaces and sort of trying to deploy it within my company, which is different than running something at a place like Amazon where it feels it's all established, all the answers have been solved, they have a 20-year head start. And so we're not going to have everything out of the gate. And so these foundational blocks that Josh is talking about are the things that we're living and breathing now on a daily basis. And it's hard to imagine how much you need to care about the data until you were there in that moment and you see, wow, the data's not very good.
Right.
And so you just kind of look at things a little differently when you're at that step. And so as you're exploring Mirakl, you're at one part of that journey. And then as you get further in the deployment and the running and operating the marketplace, you tend to see a lot of those nuances. So that's why I'm shaking my head. The data that we get within medical or dental or even just the adjacent categories is not good.
Right. Yeah, I never thought about that.
good.
Yeah, just not good.
It's
That's
just
good.
not
Well
good.
said. Well said. Yeah, I mean, retail's detail. I mean, even in the stores, retail is detail, and in online, it's exponentially detailed too when you think about it. So, Adam, how do you think about this from the brand voice standpoint? Like, how do you think of making sure that the brand voice comes through in the right way across all the constituencies, especially when you're trying to take advantage of retail media?
Yeah, great question. I think most of the hard work is really with the marketplaces. For us, it's really going back to the basics. What is the brand is about, making sure that we tailor the inventory and the assortment to the audience of the marketplaces, along with some of the, for us, Gen Z audience we're trying to bring to a Macy's or a Bloomingdale's, making sure that pricing consistency is here. I mean, for brands that are evolving and from one channel to another, I cannot insist enough on how important it is to make sure that your prices are the same across the board, your promotional period are the same across the board, and then content, right? That's where you have a unique place to differentiate yourself. So how do you do your description of your items and your product? And if there are a lot of legacy players on those marketplaces, like for new D2C, younger brand, that's really the best way to differentiate yourselves. And so that's really how we think about it. And then one of the best opportunity that we had is the ability to execute very quickly. Like we launch new product, it's very easy to launch on 3 marketplaces, understand the data, being able to plan and order in between the tariff breaks if possible, and just get better and better for your P&L.
Got it. So that's interesting. So you basically have to maintain a brand voice across many different marketplaces. How do the marketplaces perform? I mean, you were talking a little bit about this before we got on stage. Like, do you see incrementality across them all? Do they bleed into one another? Like, how do you think about that in control of the brand voice too?
There is massive incrementality coming from this. A lot of our audiences on our D2C was more of like the Gen Zs, 25, 35, 40s, and launching with Bloomingdale's, Macy's, we started to reach a more mature audience, and we're seeing it because when we do survey in our own retail stores and we talk to our customers, they say, I discovered you in an environment that I trust, that could be Macy's online, and then I come to the store and I shop with you.
Got it, okay. So Josh, let's shift gears a little bit to close it up, but you've been at the game for a while. Like, where are the next opportunities for you in terms of marketplace and growth?
I think some of the next opportunities continue to be building on what we've already been doing.
Okay.
You know, there's new brands that are launching every single day, and so being able to get those in front of our customers in a very quick and speedy fashion. I think they talked about the time at Cisco to get an item live for their wholesale operation versus marketplace. Same thing, getting things up faster, testing. We're continuing to also look at those new and adjacent categories. So I mentioned consumer electronics, but we're also looking at sporting goods. You know, we have a lot of customers coming to us for their athletic gear. Why not get some of the more outdoors, hard goods to them as well? So very excited about that. I think, you know, I talked about the increased functionality through Mirakl to place ads and whatnot. So the technology getting a lot better. And we've talked enough about AI that I'll skip over some of that right now, but those are going to make things much easier from both the customer-facing side, but also the back-end operations. You know, the more seamless that I can make things in the back end for my team and for the sellers, the more time we can focus on some of those forward-facing sales growth opportunities.
So even for you in like year X, it's still about the relentless focus on building out the assortment.
We're all about selling products.
Yeah.
That's what we're here for.
So it never stops, really. I mean, and that's
Never stops.
the value of what we're talking about here, right?
Yep.
Because you've just got to keep finding it, and there's new people coming into the fray every single day.
And increased customer experience. I think we've all talked about where you start in the marketplace journey and having to make some of those decisions of what that customer experience will look like. You know, 3 years in, I'm still working on how do I make it even more seamless to be shopping on Macy's marketplace versus some of our owned inventory as well.
And what % of your time do you devote to that task specifically? Like making sure your team is like pounding the pavement and finding the right sellers to put on the marketplace?
Fortunately, I've got a very incredible team, and so a lot of their time is spent on that, while I get to focus on all of the aspects of running a marketplace business.
So you can trust them and they just know what to do.
Absolutely.
That's great. Jan, what about you? Like, is it the same opportunity? I'm guessing you have the same relentless focus too, but how do you think about that question?
Yeah, it's, I think outside of using Marketplace to fill adjacent categories, I think the big opportunity we see as a company that's now over 90 years old, we've grown through acquisition, and we have many subsidiaries that run independently, that choose to not sell through our distribution channel because they want control over price, they want control over the customer, and so Marketplace is opening up as a foundation and opportunity for us to consolidate those offerings. You know, the subsidiary retains control over their pricing, over how they go to market. We've heard a lot of the folks on stage say that, but being able to unify as a B2B enterprise, be able to unify so that a dentist or a physician that buys from Henry Schein, they're not buying on 10 different websites. They're not buying from 20 different reps. They're coming to one site and they're able to access all of that selection in one place. And so it's both an internal strategy in consolidating all of our offering in one place, in addition to adjacent categories for all the other selection.
Got it. So for you, relative to Josh, there's an opportunity to further find scale in the platform itself and the operations of that platform.
Exactly.
What's it take to do that?
A lot of selling.
A lot of selling.
A lot of selling, yeah. So what I'm doing, independent of kind of running and scaling and operating the marketplace, is actually going to the various CEOs of these subsidiaries and meeting with them and pitching them once again, because they've been asked to sell through distribution, and they don't want to give up control. And so the pitch is sometimes with Mirakl slides, sometimes it's with BCG reports, sometimes it's with videos from these types of sessions of look what Lowe's is doing, look what Macy's is doing, look what Nordstrom is doing. It helps to see what companies in other industries are doing and leveraging that technology. And so it's very much a pitch of being hybrid distribution, investing in different channels and kind of selling them on that. And once we get past that, it becomes more of the how do we make it happen, how do we execute? But it's a lot of selling.
Got it. Yeah. You never stop selling.
Never stop
Always
selling.
be closing, right?
That's right.
Adam, what about you? Like, what's next for you in answering this same question on how things continue to evolve?
For us, it's expansion. We're currently with 4 Mirakl marketplaces. I think by end of the year, we're going to be with roughly 10 Mirakl marketplaces, probably 20 marketplaces total. It's going to be probably 35% of the total business of Luisa. So that's continuing to do the same, better, and always focused on the brand, and the brand.
So foot on the gas pedal, basically.
Absolutely.
All right. All right, well, let's close with this. Let's go around the horn here again. And Adam, let's go back to you. I'm curious, what advice would you have for the people in the audience here in terms of, just marketplaces in general and taking the right approach?
Yeah, you need to think GMV will come. Just relax about it. GMV will come. You'll drive your sales. Think about the brand. Think about how you create value for the ecosystem. For the retailers that you're going to work with, how do you bring the audience that they're looking for? How do you bring the content that they're looking for? For the consumer, how do you make sure they're not confused? One instance I can give you is that we're completely redesigning our packaging. We're not mentioning our website anymore on our packaging, right? We're just putting the name of the brand, and that's going to be the same packaging for everyone. And then for the consumer, it's really making sure that, if you put so much focus on your D2C business for fulfilling on time, having the best customer service experience, and so on, make sure it's the same for marketplaces. And really focus on those basics, because with Mirakl, the technology is here. You'll have the audience and the traffic from the marketplaces, so it's going to be an easy ride.
Well, so that's fascinating. So a brand that started as DTC has now taken their brand website off their packaging?
I would have never believed I said that.
Wow, that's crazy. It shows you the power of marketplaces. My God, okay, I would never expected that. Josh, how about you? What's your advice for maybe a retailer that's hasn't gotten the punchline of the joke yet and is thinking out there, maybe I want to start a marketplace. What's your advice for them?
I think similar to what Adam said, the sales are going to come. This is a great growth opportunity. It's been proven time and time again. So what are you waiting for? Might be one of my questions.
Right.
But a lot of people have covered this, and again, I don't want to sound like a broken record, but you have to get the customer experience right? So now all of a sudden you're going to have these customers who expect an experience from you. That's why they love shopping with you. That's why they come back time and time again. A lot of times they're not going to be accustomed to or even know that they're ordering from a third-party seller now. Mm-hmm. So do they expect loyalty points? Do they expect in-store returns? Do they expect fast free shipping? What are those things that are going to disrupt that experience, and make sure that you nail those right? I think for sellers and brands, I want to add that into, because there's both sides of the marketplace here, and I think Stefan mentioned this before, but don't spread yourself too thin. Joining a marketplace, you can't just set it and forget it, and that's when the GMV doesn't come. You have to actively manage it, and so don't bite off more than you can chew. You have to be working on your product data and content. You have to be optimizing your returns. You have to be looking at promotional opt-ins. All of these different aspects, you're essentially running yet another e-commerce business. And so pace yourselves and make sure that you're growing in the right way versus the kind of buckshot that he had mentioned.
Got it. Jan?
I found that marketplace as a discipline touches every single corner of the company. Within healthcare, I mean, you're talking regulatory, compliance, treasury, finance, accounting. It touches every single corner. And so it takes a level of perseverance to then, push through some of these barriers to actually launching the marketplace. And I was sharing off stage, in 23, I came to my first Mirakl Summit as a prospect. In 24, I came as a customer who had started the development process, and then now in 25, having launched a POC. And it's, I think, overwhelming to hear from folks who are much further, experiencing success. Obviously, we want to get that out in front, but it's starting, I think, is the advice, is that you're not going to have everything figured out. It's not going to be, well, Amazon's kind of solved this, how's that, how do we compete? It's just getting started, one foot in front of the other, and you'll get there. The GMV will come. We all believe that. That's kind of how I would leave it.
Yeah. Or maybe not even one foot in front of the other, just jump feet first, both in, right? That's the other thing. I mean, the quote of the show for me was what you just said, the fact that you've taken the website off packaging. That's fascinating given the growth that you're seeing. So, well, thank you, gentlemen. Thank you to the three of you for entertaining my questions today with the audience here. And hopefully you guys in the audience got a sense of, why there is the flywheel of 1 + 1 = 3 when you start thinking about marketplaces and harnessing them for all they can do.